with a karakia. Thank you, Phil.
Morena koutou. Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga, kia mā kina ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai, e hi aki ana te atukura, he tio, he huka, he hauhu, ti he Māori ora.
Thank you, Phil. Right, we have a workshop scheduled until about 11 or 11:30, depending on how we go. And we have our externals here with us. So, Sandra, can I get you to make some introductions? And just for those in the room, we have Councillor Hughes online, but everyone else is in the room.
Kia ora, good morning, everyone. So I'm Sandra Shistojekic, Team Leader Customer Focus for Regional Transport Connections here at the Council. And yeah, thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you for the opportunity for this workshop to offer exploration of the strategic positioning and brand development project for the Waikato Public Transport Network. Now, this session is designed to facilitate and a thoughtful consideration and provide a forum for feedback on the following topics. Some of those, well, a little bit you would have already heard when we came to WRC Transport Committee on 17th of February. Brand strategic positioning and a little bit of architecture. We are going to take you today through the naming direction and design direction. And to do that, we have our specialists here. So we have Heath, Jane, and Chloe from Special Group joining us today and to talk in depth about the work they've done so far. We invite you to provide feedback on the proposed name options and visual development, including how they connect to your communities, districts, and local stories. Your input here today will help us understand how the ideas resonate across different parts of the Waikato and whether they do reflect the region's identity. We're keen to hear whether this direction helps address some of the challenges that public transport is facing, and we'll talk through them a little bit as well. As we move through each section, you will be invited to offer some comments, and we can place them on the whiteboards there. The team here will take us through a presentation and touch on all of those areas. I guess just to let you know where we're at with the project before we kick off and what are some of the next steps, what we've done so far in terms of connecting with elected members was that WRC Transport Committee on 17th of February. We also took a report to RTC Public Transport Subcommittee on 9th of March. And with today's workshop, we seek your feedback. We have iwi engagement next week, and we would, all going well, look to bring the brand for validation to WRC Transport Committee on 22nd of April before we kick off with the full sort of development across all of the assets. That's probably more than enough from me. So handing over to our team. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you for the introduction. So as Sandra mentioned, we will run through our presentation today. There's a few parts to it. We will first give you a bit of an overview of what the project overview is, which is our project blueprint. So how we got from the start of the project to this point. Then Jane will then share the strategy work that we have undergoing to this project, and we will share the naming, and finally Heath will take you through the visual identity part, which we will share the immersion work that we have done, and then now the identity development that you can already see behind us. So just a bit of a recap on that. Obviously, we have been appointed through the RFP process that Sandra has elected. Our engagement has always been to make sure that create a brand that people can trust and recognize. So we always keep that in our core work. Very important. And we know that at the end of the increasing patronage and the trust that the public in the transport. So make sure the Waikato region. This is very much an outline of all the steps that we've gone through to do this. We had a bit of a startup immersion project, and then Jane is undergoing quite a lot of discovery strategy work with a lot of interviews with stakeholders, users and non-users of the service. And then all of that has led us to do some strategic work to define the brand, which we have connected, as Sandra mentioned, with the council a couple of times. And now we are in this part in the brand development, which is always the starting part, and which is where we are in this moment to just connect and share where we got to and getting your input through the work.
Thank you. Now I'm going to take you through the strategy, and the strategy is an incredibly important part of this process. As you know, creativity is very much subjective. We all have colors we like, we all have things we like. The reason we partake in strategy is to look at research, and the most important part of that research is talking to people of the Waikato who use public transport, who have stopped using public transport, or potentially do not use it. We want to understand why. But first of all, I want to demonstrate to you here why a strong brand is so important, and actually the power of a really strong brand. And there is a huge amount of research to support this. We know first and foremost that strong brands sell more, right? They sell 9 times more compared to weaker brands. We know that strong brands can charge more. They can justify a price premium. We know they grow faster, and we know that they deliver better shareholder returns. But importantly, the evidence here really demonstrates that to build a strong brand, which is exactly what we're trying to do with this transport brand here, we need to have some fundamentals in place. And there are 2 elements to this, 2 reasons why. The first one of which is that a distinctive brand positioning and a brand identity is consistently applied over time. So remember that we need a distinctive brand identity here, something that is recognizable by everyone in the region. And then second to that, we know that attention-grabbing creativity that elicits emotion is going to help support this brand. So if we think about that first point, why having a distinctive brand and consistently applying that brand over time is the fundamentals for a strong brand, we can look at the current brands you have in place for Waikato Transport. Now, there's quite a lot, as you can see. You will be very hard pressed to find a strong transport brand network anywhere in the country or actually in the world that will have this many identities. And there's a simple reason for that. It's because we know that strong brand needs one cohesive identity, something that people can look at and say, oh, there's Waikato Transport, that must be the vehicle that I need to get. And this was really important when we spoke to people down here. We really understood the extent to which this is incredibly confusing for people, and hence why we have been tasked with this. So a little bit about the research that we undertook with this specific project and in those early stages. We always do a briefing and a kickoff workshop to really interrogate what the core problem is here, or what the problem is that is perceived. And then we look at the supplied collateral, all the documents that you have, all the research that you currently have. We familiarize ourselves with this existing research, with the current brand, with those many, many brands and their identities that you have. And then most importantly, we undertake this primary research. And as part of this, we interviewed for an hour and a half each 8 of your key stakeholders. We then conducted 7 focus groups down here, which were incredibly insightful. We spoke to the customer-facing teams to understand what are people's key problems here, what things are they saying to you, what do they like about the network, what are their pain points. We spoke to the local council, and then we started to speak to users or non-users, our key audience here. We spoke to frequent transport users to understand what they like about it, why they use it so much, what are their perceptions of it. We spoke to occasional users. We spoke to lapsed users, which was very interesting. Why have you stopped using public transport here? And finally, we spoke to non-public transport users. And this was incredibly telling in itself. Why do you feel so passionately against taking public transport down here? And then the final part of our research is what we call desk research, whereas essentially we undertake a huge competitor review. While they're not our direct competitors, we look at public transport brands both in New Zealand and all around the world to understand what are they doing well and why is it doing well for them. And a really important brand we looked at here was Transport for London, which I've actually worked with extensively in London. Now, that's a city of 9+ million people, incredibly complex, and they have simplified that brand so much. It is so easy to use for both locals and tourists, and it's actually become a loved part of London. It is so iconic to London now. And that's essentially our aim here. We want to create a brand that everyone in the Waikato loves, knows how to use, and feels really proud of.
Jane, just before you move on, we just got a question from
Quick
Jen.
clarifying question. When you said local council had ×2, and I was trying to understand what that looked like.
Those were 2 focus groups, weren't they, Sandra? Yeah.
Yeah, like who participated in that focus or in those 2 focus groups?
I'll have a look back.
I'm guessing it's involving Hamilton. Yeah.
When we conducted those stakeholder interviews and those focus groups, this was a problem that kept being reiterated to us. And we were told that our biggest hurdle is that people want more bus routes and more frequency, right? That's a big problem. However, to do this, we need more money. But to get more money, we need people to take the bus, right? And to get more people to take the bus, we need more bus routes and high frequency. So what we very quickly realized that we're sort of stuck in this chicken or the egg scenario here. And this has really paralyzed progress currently. When we look at the reviews of the current bus network, it's actually very positive. Patronage is good, but it's stagnated. It's stopped. People think it's great. Those that use it love it, but it's stopped. It's not growing. It's not necessarily elevating itself. So we know that people will use public transport when more frequency and routes increase. However, for those to increase, we need financing. And to get financing, we need routes to increase. So our job here as a brand is to really create a brand that is going to encourage people to use the bus, either for the first time or for an increased time. Once we do that as a brand, we can get funding and then the system can continue to grow. In terms of a strategic platform, this is what we call our brand strategy approach. And we call it the 4 Cs, where we look at all these elements to try and find a key insight from each of these areas. So first of all, we looked at the company itself. We look at the transport network and try and summarize what's our key problem here. And that really is that complexity of the network, all those brands, and confusion as a result of that is really stalling momentum here, right? We then look at the customer, and when we spoke to all those people, we found that they all had something in common, and that is that their choice of movement, whether that is via bus or whether that is via car, is dictated by the need for fluidity. So we had nearly the exact same language used and the same responses from both bus users and car users. And they always said, it's the easiest option for me. So that's very important when we're taking into account this brand. We want it to feel easy and we want it to feel effortless for people so that it is the natural choice. Then when we look at the category, and the category here, we mean other transport networks, we found that actually the best transport brands aren't just easy to use and aren't just easily recognizable, but they really are the foundation for a thriving place. So this speaks to our potential here. If we create a transport system that is so effortless, so recognizable and so distinctive, it's really going to help the area in itself. And then finally, we look at culture. So looking at a deeper level here, what's happening culturally here? How are people feeling? And we found that people love living in the Waikato because it has this natural flow of life. They all use this very descriptive language saying, we love living here, or I've returned to this place because it's so easy. It's such a fluid sense of life. It's so effortless. It's so easy. But the current transport system is definitely disrupting that sense of ease. So that's our key challenge here. We then always, with everything we do, apply a Maori lens to this. And our consultant here has said that, movement in Te Reo is a living force. It really creates connection, purpose, and possibility. So that's our cultural lens that we apply everything to. So once we've done all that research and we've taken all that into account, we come up with what is called a motivational statement. Now, I'm very aware that to a non-marketer or someone not potentially in our industry, this can seem a little bit fluffy or a little bit convoluted. However, this is really important to us, and it really guides and embodies the essence with which we want this brand to feel. And we came up with this statement for what we want Waikato Transport to feel like. And we want it to feel like our movement powers potential. We want it to feel strong, like the river, like the sense of water here. We want to realize the potential for people. And we want to create a network that is constantly moving, not just in terms of the vehicles itself, but moving the region. We're very prescriptive with exactly why we use that language. I won't go into detail here, but it's not just something we pull out of thin air. It's very purposeful. And then we apply our metaphor here. And what we've realized here is that Waikato, it is a mixture of both water and the flow and current. And that's exactly what we want this brand to feel like. We want it to feel like a living movement. We want it to be culturally grounded in the sense of waterways, whether water is soft and tranquil and slow, or whether it is very powerful, it is constantly moving. And that's exactly what this brand should feel like. We want it to be an expression of power, and we really want this to be an opportunity for potential for the region and for individuals. And after we've done all that work, we come up with what we call a brand on a page. So this is sort of summarizing absolutely all the research we've undertaken to look at this brand. What should this brand feel like? We identify our opportunity, which is to create a movement system that is going to help the people and communities thrive. Who's our audience here? Who are we speaking to? We really are speaking to all people and all communities here. That is our ambition. Our brand positioning, how do we position ourselves as a transport network? We want to show people that they can actually do more when they use public transport, more for themselves, more for their families, more for their communities, and more for the region. Which leads us to our brand impact idea about movement powers potential. And after that, we move into the naming approach. So we considered 3 territories here. What should we call this transport network? We could either be very rational and descriptive and have names that either directly reference the service and what it does for the Waikato, or names that are very easy to abbreviate. We could leverage the place where we are. We could have names that speak to this idea of, potential or movement across the region. Or we could come up with something completely new. We could make up a name that references key benefits or the experience of what we do. And we decided that actually it was that first option, very rational, descriptive, or the sense of place that was going to work for us. So after we had about 15 options, we've sort of whittled it down to what is the easiest for people to recognize. And that is option 1, Waikato Transport, where we would have an abbreviation of WT or WKT. We've thought of this because it really follows international convention, whether that's Transport for London, whether that is Auckland Transport, whether that is Melbourne Transport. It really follows that convention, and there's a reason why it is so simple and it works everywhere. It leads with Waikato, the whenua, the whakapapa, the reference, the awa as the foundation of the sense of identity and movement. When we call it Waikato Transport, it importantly future-proofs ourselves to keep it open to more modes of transport in the future, whether that is cycles, whether that is ferries, planes. We think big, and we really future-proof ourselves here to make it suitable for anything that might come across in the future. And then importantly, acronyms are really easy to say and remember, which is exactly what we've got. We would call this WT or WKT. Our second one was Transport for Waikato. So we've just sort of flipped it there. And the rationale for this was, again, it follows international convention, Transport for London. It states that the organisation is 100% dedicated to the region. So we are here for you. We are Transport for Waikato. Transport, again, keeps it open to those more modes. And again, we've used an acronym TFW here because it's easy to say and remember. So those are our final 2 options that we would like to proceed with, whether we call ourselves Waikato Transport or Transport for Waikato. That is essentially what we've landed on in terms of a naming approach. And then Heath is going to take you through the visuals.
Yes, Ben.
Oh, 2 questions. One, earlier you suggested there were between 6 to 8 potential names. You haven't run through those. We don't think we've seen them. Do you want to give them to us anyway? And the second one was about the web domains. Have they been secured, the .co's or the .govts?
We check their availability. They are available, but we haven't secured them until we finalised it. Yeah. And in terms of the other names, I don't think we have them to hand right now, but we can absolutely send them to you.
Ben, does that answer your question?
Web domains would be rational to bid, even if we don't use them. Yeah, the other 6 to 8, you'll email us or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. Thank you. Oh, can we? Yes, it's a public workshop. Yeah, so if you're in the room, we do have Katarina and other people online, Chris Hughes. So if we can use our microphones in chambers, that'd be great. Thanks, Noel.
Question is this online? It's going to go online. So we're talking about commercially sensitive stuff here. We're talking about brands, as Ben has alluded to. Should this not then go into public excluded? I think we should. If we have people watching who are interested in, we had this issue when I was at the district. One of the general managers raced out and did all the collared all the names, the main names, and then wanted to tell them back to the council. Corruption. So don't want to see that happen again.
Yep, Warren.
Yeah, just for clarity, is it just being recorded rather than being online?
Not being notified as a publicly excluded workshop.
The other thing what I would also raise is this has actually been out in RTC.
Yeah, that's my question.
So it's already been in a public meeting.
Yeah, it's been in our. Yes, it has. But the domain names is interesting.
Could I suggest staff go and lodge some of the domain names now?
It's pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Warren?
It's out. There's enough people know about it already. I would, as the request has been made, let's register those domain names. I don't see the need to move into public excluded.
Yep, fair point. Cool. Thank you, Ben. Right, over to you, Heath.
Thank you.
Have to be careful because Wahara Transport already go around with BWT on all their trucks.
If this is WKT, you're right.
All right.
We'll share some of
we
those
will
options
move
in
on.
a minute. Yeah. We'll be able to figure out how we symbolize our name. Yeah. So the first thing we did before we started doing any creative work, of course, as Jane was saying, we did a lot of research. So the other part of the research that we did is about looking at what's happening on the ground practically today with our bus stops, with our buses, with our livery, how it's working, how it's not working, how it could be improved. So we undertook a piece of research. We traveled around not just Hamilton, but the region on all the different kind of bus services, from the Comet to the Meteor, linking up from town to town. And we found out a few, I'll just go through the key findings. The first is the network isn't clearly organized. So the way that you, a rider or a user goes through and looks at all the information isn't always the same. So the hierarchy changes in a lot of different places. The network lacks a clear identity. You can just see from a picture here of some of the bus stops, nothing that says bus. There's no picture of a bus. There's no name. There's no number. There's no color. What is it? Is that a bus stop? Is it still in use? It created a lot of confusion. Information at stops is incomplete. So sometimes you might have some information, but not everything there to figure out which direction even is the bus going from this side of the street. Route variations, describing to everyone all the different variety of routes you could take from this bus stop. They don't help, they cause confusion. We need everything to be really clear, really simple. You're going from A to B to C. So things like that were really sort of easy to spot. And so we started there. And so we looked at we made some recommendations to the group about addressing that information hierarchy, about nomenclature, terminology, what do we call things? What do we name things? Visibility, increasing visibility for bus stops. How do we use information, make it easier to use, to understand? And then how do we actually call out routes through numbers from directions, south to north, east to west, what are our options? And then briefly, drawing on these insights from other research around the world, we've decided we're going to focus in on some of these points. Clarity and simplicity, of course, consistency, of course, legibility and visibility, a predictable hierarchy, everybody understands how to read the information. Trying to make navigation intuitive, of course, we want to make this easy for people. That's our whole point here, not to make it just good looking, but easy to use. And then really start to address issues on accessibility, and that's visual and physical accessibility for our passengers. Accurate information, can this scale and be flexible across the system as it grows into the future? How can we reduce friction and not repeat ourselves? Brand alignment, so can we feel like one strong brand or strong company, strong organization across every touch point, and then simplifying our routes. And we'll be working with the planning team within what could be Waikato Transport to simplify routes and make it functionally easier to use as well. So that's our starting point. What are the problems? Recognizing what those are, making a plan, trying to solve those problems with everything that we do. So we'll walk through the concept development just briefly. Basically, it touches on what Jane talked about earlier, which is our core idea. You start to see a form come to life here, which is this W. So that isn't a logo yet, but that's a notion of what this idea can be to represent our transport company. It's about Māori and momentum. It's about reflecting that sense of ease and fluidity of the waterways in our region. It's about identifying that we are an organization about pathways, about getting to places efficiently, smoothly, easily, and along a really simple pathway. It's about our water, our waterways are why, and it's about our whenua, our land. So all of our decisions that we make from here come from this starting point of our concept. And then when we take our two names that we've tabled today, and we have other names, we've only looked at these two in terms of design development so far. One of them being Waikato Transport, the other being Transport for Waikato. Again, these aren't exactly our logo marks, but this is the beginnings of what we think is going to look like a way to communicate smooth, efficient travel that creates movement for the Waikato region. You can see on the left, there's an opportunity to do a WT for a Waikato Transport. There's also an opportunity just to do a strong W kind of a shape that acts as a very, very simple beacon at the top of our brand to communicate to everyone what we do and how we do it. Also, as mentioned, this work is going to be workshopped with iwi later next week, I believe. So once we have iwi consultation, we've done a lot of work in the background telling tell Maori stories through a mark like this, through an idea like this, but it needs consultation first, and we'll land on the appropriateness of storytelling. And then in their next rounds of work, that'll start to be surfaced as well. So a big part of our identity, of course, is color. Where do we come from? What's our place? What's our place made of? And the Waikato is as unique as anywhere else in New Zealand, indeed in the world. So we've looked at 3 different color palettes, and prudently, we started with something close to what we already know, our blues. There's a good reason for it. The blues and greens reference the Waikato region. They reference the river itself, all the waterways. So we've got deep blues, light blues, and greens. Of course, we've got in each of these palettes opportunities for bright colors that communicate very clearly things that need caution or things that need attention. So if you start to look at that in terms of exploration, we have a dark blue bus, with some light blue branding. This fits very much into our Waikato region already. The other thing I would just point out before we move into the other options is just how clear the Waikato Transport is across the top of the bus. So that's at a high eye level. It's really easy to see. And we don't use branding as a distraction. We use branding as signaling. That is a bus from the Waikato region. This is where it's going. And then we really keep our focus on the route numbers underneath. There's also been a recommendation probably that we do one color for buses through the entire region, as not to be able to confuse people as to what routes they're on, but also if we have a bus that comes out of service, what happens? We can't put a yellow bus into a red service. lane.
Actually, on that point, it was a very interesting insight when we were speaking to people. Most commonly used bus was the Comet, and actually, a lot of people didn't even know the name of the Comet, they just knew the color. And they said that often a replacement bus will come, a silver one, and the driver will say to them, I'm the Comet bus, but they will refuse to get on. They just solely rely on the color. Hence why we want to make everything the same color and therefore force people to read the number and where it's going.
So the first way to make something easier is to edit out all the options. And so that's our first point of focus, is to do that, make things just simpler and easier, more direct. So if you have a bus stop that's blue, that has the same branding as a symbol, all the same visual attributes that match the bus, makes everything easier. So this is our this first color option. The second one is look more to the land and look at greens. So of course, the Waikato River itself and the waterways are blue, but everything surrounding it is filled with greens. And so could a green palette make a powerful and clear, transport system? I guess the answer is yes, it could. And you can use the greens, to good effect. So of course, this is just, we're opening this up so that everyone can see some of our discovery and exploration. And then we'll show you what we're landing on so far, and we can know. It's just part of the way that we do our work. And then finally, we thought there's another way to really draw out the unique qualities of the Waikato region, and that's to focus on the whenua. And so we have a lot of beautiful further around the region. We've got some beautiful colors that start to come to life in the thermal pools, et cetera. Yes, shaped by sulfurs and warm water spots, hot water spots. So we've got a whenua red and yellow option as well, which is really quite, it's beautiful, it's unique. It doesn't look like a blue AT from Auckland. It doesn't look like a blue bus system from Christchurch. So it really starts to set us apart and be unique and talk to our region and our culture. Pardon me?
Wellington bus.
I think they're red,
Wellington, that's burgundy more.
yellow and green.
Some,
Yellow and green.
Heath, did you want questions now? Or?
We'll move, I'll just get through some of these
Sounds
bits and pieces, do questions, and we'll capture everybody's thoughts behind me. I think 5 more minutes and we'll be able to jump into that. So then what we've done is we've taken some of these ideas, these color palettes, we've run with one of them, which is the whenua red and the yellow. Again, we're here to take commentary on that. We've tested these across just a select number of touch points to make sure that what we're thinking of is, can start to work as we move forward. So the further testing can be explored after we figure out what name this is. We all agree on the core color system, and then of course next week's cultural considerations as well taken on board. So we've been through a couple of livery tests. Still on the table, there's one that's this deep whenua red. And you can see some of the detail and how clear we're trying to make the communications. And then the other option is to flip it and to be yellow buses. So again, we've got, there are always going to be personal preferences that come up. Do we like red? Do we like yellow? Do we like green? And we need to cast our minds back and think about what our customers are going to be looking for and what they're going to be comfortable with and confident about boarding. So then bus stops again, there's the dark red, and there's possibly a yellow, and you can see all the signage that goes around it. Draw our eye to, this is a bus stop, and I feel confident to get on. You can see the two side by side, how they. And then finally, we've just had a go at how to clarify and simplify some timetables while suggesting how we could bring a broader brand and cultural piece into our communication. So you can see some pattern work here that we're exploring at the moment, which will be influenced by Mana Whenua consultation. But it's important not to just deliver information. We also want to deliver some of our personality, some of our generosity of our community into these pieces. And this is how clear some of our signage can be using that color palette. We've really had a look at how we can organize the hierarchy of information on every single touch point so that ideally every time someone goes to one of our bus stops, you see everything in this same order. with less confusion and fewer options. And finally, if we're doing communication or advertising around our own services, how could that personality of our community start to come to life? So these are all placeholder images. They're all just discovery and exploration of how colors and patterns could work. So as we get closer and closer towards the solutions, these will all be tightened up, firmed up, crafted. So that's it for the screen presentation. If anyone has any questions at this point, we could take them. Then otherwise, we can. We'd like to do is just capture everyone's thoughts. We'll put up Post-it notes so that we don't leave here without somebody's thoughts and opinions that we can't take away with us.
Excellent. Thank you, Heath. We've got a speaking order. I've got Keith, Jen, Noel, and Ben, and then Robbie.
Yeah, thanks, Angela. Thanks for your presentation. I've got the dubious honour of being born in Auckland, but lived in the Waikato for 60 plus years. Probably don't believe that, but that's beside the point. And what I see from your presentation is you guys don't identify with Waikato, because for me, Waikato is red, yellow, and black, and that should be. Everybody identifies with that in the Waikato, and you've taken one or the other, but not the whole lot. So is that, and in terms of, I totally believe in branding, and it works. I know that, but I've just, my good artist here has done some pictures, and if you try and explain that you're showing the flow, but if you actually look at the logos you've got, they're very stultified. They're very don't show motion, in my view. And I think you can the W. I think we should have that in there because that's distinctly Waikato, but it should show flow. And because I've got a probably a bent sense of humour, but I think you should use the W and turn it into a tanafa, because we all identify with that. It is the water, it is motion. So I think you need to take the essence of the Waikato into your branding.
That's okay. That is something, yeah, that is something we're considering. We've been working with a Maori artist on our team. We've been talking about the piko. Is that what they're called? The bends of the river, and around every bend, around every piko is a taniwha. So that's an idea from the Waikato that we're taking on board. So we'll take that in with us next week to consultation with Maori. And the other thing is we've got ideas for patterning and eddies and flows that come into this concept of this flowing W that I think may go some way to address those concerns. But thank you. We absolutely want to consider all of that. And in terms of the red, white, or red, yellow, and black, I think that's a good build.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you so much. In terms of that red, yellow, and black, if we were to look at these colors on screen here, would that embody enough of that red, yellow, and black for you, or what is the appetite for that? No? This here? On the right? Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Oh, Robbie, you just need to use your microphone because people online find it incredibly frustrating.
But not the maroon, but just the
bright red,
the yellow, black, and
okay,
red identifies the Waikato.
Yeah,
a brighter red is a red. It's really obvious. Yeah.
And it's an interesting point, hence why I'm asking about it. And in terms of those three colors, if you were to look at a bus like this, you know, it's either a red or a yellow. Is it really that combination of the three that you feel would most positively reflect the region, or can we have that one hero color? Anyone?
Anyone.
For me, so you're talking about two different things there. You're talking about the color of the bus, and the other part is the brand. Because the brand, I totally agree that the brand should be Waikato Transport, because we will have planes and all sorts of things, motorbikes and that. So the brand should encompass essence of Waikato, which is red, yellow, and black.
Yeah.
The color is going to be strategic.
Yeah.
And my friend's got a picture there. He can show you that there's options there as well. Yeah. So.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Thank
you
you,
just
Kate.
made that.
Thank you. Awesome. Speaking order is Jen, Noel, Ben, Robbie, Gary R, Chris Hughes online. So go to Jen. This microphone.
Good addition, but I just want to point out, I definitely didn't think of Waikato as black, red, and I'm sorry. No, but exactly. I've got lots of other colours around me. But I'm just saying, like,
Human as well.
there's a certain.
You haven't been here long enough.
Let her talk. We're interrupting people, and people don't like to be interrupted.
I'm just saying, like, the rugby colours and things come from a certain demographic that likes that kind of thing, and it's not necessarily representative of everyone, and that will apply to every bit of feedback you guys get, right?
Mhm.
I'm just saying, it didn't come to my mind. When you were talking a lot about flow and river, I did like the more blues and greens, but the question I actually had was, if you're trying to make it as easy as possible, and I really appreciate it, because the other day I was at a bus stop, and the fact that I didn't have a B card that time because I lost it, and I didn't know how much money it would even cost, and I had to have exact change, was highly frustrating, and I had to Google it. That's, you know, somebody who's actively trying. And so what have you thought about in regards to colours and emotions about the way people feel? Because obviously sometimes there's the thinking that I've heard about that if something red comes towards you, it brings out quite aggressive feelings, whereas other colours have different feelings. So have you taken that into?
Yeah, that's
some thinking?
correct.
Yeah.
That's why ambulances, fire trucks, et cetera, are red, and they're alarming and they're coming towards you. The calming colors are blues, greens,
Right.
pinks. I think blues and greens in this region also make a lot of sense, and it does depend on what side of or how you interpret a culture or a culture that you're from.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have been thinking about that.
No, that's cool. And the only other feedback I'll just give while I have the mic is I don't see a lot of need to set us apart from our neighbouring regions. I really want us to have a lot of inter-regional transport that we're offering. And so if there's something like blue over and like, it just goes into the thinking that maybe the people travelling between that, it'll make their lives easier, not have to jump to colours.
So more connective across.
Yeah, I mean, my
across
vision
regions.
for the country is that
Yeah.
we would have, since we're going to have more to
you-
move as the national card, is that we will also one day have a national looking system as well.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that for now. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Your point on colour is totally bang on correct. What we will do once we've whittled it down to a few options based on feedback, based on the process, we then go out to testing. We will send surveys out to thousands in the region, and we really try and understand what exactly, you know, how does this feel to you? What emotions does it elicit? Does this feel clear and simple? So rest assured that whatever we do, we'll go through a rigorous testing process as well.
Noel.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I've enjoyed it much more than the previous. I find the one on the right up here quite confusing. You look at it and it's, what is it? I also like the idea of flipping it to transport Waikato rather than Waikato transport, immediately transport Waikato. And I also prefer an italicized version with the T leading into to give the effect of flowing. So going to the colours, I actually like the current blue buses down to Waipa, the ones that go, the double decker goes out to Raglan. Don't have a problem with that, but I don't want to be an Auckland Blues supporter. So the dark blue up there, quite distinctive in Auckland, but yeah, I don't have a problem with red. A bus coming towards you, red, I don't see that as danger. It's obvious. You know, I'm thinking when I use the public transport in Sydney, red bus coming to me with a certain number on it, that's the one I want. So, and just going to colours, historically Hamilton was yellow, sports teams in Hamilton were yellow. The Clonmel, the Valley, yellow and red, if I remember correctly. King Country, more maroon than red. So when we have someone saying that we the colours mean nothing. They are historically embedded into the region. So the red, yellow and black, definitely Waikato colours. So, so I really have a problem with that, the logo in that sense. And I know this is an example, so and you're putting it up, but I would like to see it also flip to Transport Waikato rather than Waikato Transport. So thanks for that.
Thank you, Noel.
Thank you.
Ben. Then
Yeah,
Robbie next.
Good luck, because you'll have different opinions from everyone around the table.
That's why we're here.
So basically, I agree with Noel on that Te Awamutu one. It's very confusing, and one on the right on that picture. I also find the one on the left aggressive and cluttery. It's yeah. So I would agree with Jen. I think the colours should be blue or green. They're more sympathetic, and it's a sense of being helpful rather than the fire engine coming towards you. And it does align with Auckland, which I agree also we would look at ultimately merging with. And given that we may even be having a CCO for transport at some stage, which may be run by Auckland. So there's a logic to a merger there. I don't know if you're aware that local government is being reorganised. We may not be here in a year, and they will certainly look at rationalisation. So there's some synergies there.
Yeah.
Could I suggest that when you go to iwi, you don't just turn up with the slides that you've got there, because it looks to me as though you showed us blue and green and then told us you liked red in following your process through. It looked to me like you'd made a decision when you got to the red.
We just had to choose something to lean into.
And when you see you walking in with these, it looks like, oh, those are the ones that, and you actually prefer yellow. So it suggests others.
Yep.
Could I also suggest we go back to the very beginning of the slide set, your slide set? Or that, back, right, forward, sideways, sorry, that's the one, that picture there. The network isn't clearly organised. Now that to me was, if we've established that out of this research, then it's worth the money spent, because that's the crucial thing that we need to know in this region. And if you've discovered what isn't consistent, then I would appreciate knowing what it is and having a report on it.
We can share that report with you.
Yeah,
Done.
I mean, I think that's
these
really,
are highlights.
really crucial. And also, I agree with you about the bus stops. It's a good idea that they shouldn't be non-visual. And that you also said that you were going to look at simplifying routes. Now, I was going to ask Phil, is it possible to simplify routes? Because we always heard that you can't change them because of the way they're funded.
I think the reference is around naming of routes.
How we describe them, what we share at what time. So maybe not changing where they
the
go.
routes, it's
Just more consistent, maybe numbers rather than this is the comet or this is the
Well, I
meteor.
think that work is really useful. So thank you.
Thank you. That was undertaken by a wayfinding expert, and there is a huge report as a result of that, which we will be more than happy to send you because it's incredibly insightful.
Thank you. Hey, Jane, or whoever's controlling the slides, I'm just wondering, say Ben referenced the blue and the green, and so did Jen. Just wondering if we could flick to those visuals as people mention them, if possible. That would be really helpful. Robbie. Oh, Robbie, just need to pop your mic on, sorry.
I'm a yellow supporter of a bus colour, and my thing would be putting Waikato colours in that labelling somehow. So that would be more of the bus, if it's Waikato Transport or Transport Waikato, whatever way it is. I'd like to see that. I don't like the idea of green buses. Green vehicles are the most dangerous vehicles on the road, the most unseen vehicle. So I think green should be taken out of the thing completely. It shouldn't even be considered. We've had families had green cars, and every single one of them's been written off. And if you go into the insurance thing, it's one of the worst vehicles to own. So just take it off out. That shouldn't either be on the safe, and it was probably a public service that's in a green bus. Yeah, so I agree with what Ben just brought up. I'd hope we'd have to go back with a design of bus stops of just a screen, print them and keep them all the same. We wouldn't go to a huge cost, but just screen print them to a standard outlay of whatever it is we want to, and bring it back to the colour of the buses and the labelling, and that it all stays consistent. I think that's the most important thing. Yeah, that's pretty much where I sit. I don't actually like Auckland buses. If you go up to Auckland, and I've been up to Pukekohe quite recently, those buses look disgusting when they're dirty. They're grey and blue, and they look like shit. So I wouldn't go through that colour scheme at all. I'd stick to we are the Waikato, and we're supplying the service, not Auckland. So that would be my opinion. But one colour, I don't like that thing that Gary popped up. It's 3 or 4 different colours. Not interested in that. We have one colour scheme, blunt and finished. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Robbie. I think a good point to note is the bus stops are our city council, district council partners. So I've just noted a new one's gone up just down the road from me, which is quite distinctive to any other bus stop I've seen around the city. So maybe we just need to put a hold on BC doing interesting things with the bus stops. Cool. Gary R.
Thank you. Look, I'm also very much Waikato, and so that the yellow and the maroon, I'm not overly fussed, but I think we need to reflect the colours of the Waikato. It's interesting, just the 2 comments across the other side of the room there between Keith and Jen, and to me it spoke volumes of your current clientele and the clientele that you're trying to capture. You know, so I'd say, and I could be wrong, and so I don't want to put words in their mouths, but you know, if Jen's an existing user, the colour wasn't important, but you want to capture a wider market, you want more people, and so you're trying to capture the market that Jen wasn't associated with, which is Keith, and saying they identify with the Waikato and trying to pick that up. So we actually want to. So if I was going to put weight on it, I'd put more weight on Keith's side because he's a non-current user, and so you know I think that Waikato representation is important. I also take on board what Ben said, but I think even if we did merge with Auckland or any other region that goes under a coup or anything else, and identity is still important. And I think about our Fonterra tankers where they're all got blue, but right down the back in the back of the cab, there's each region's colours. So you can see 3 little stripes, red, yellow, and black, Waikato. You've got the Taranaki colours, you've got Canterbury colours, and there's just a couple of little striping. So I would imagine possibly if anybody is going into a major transport organisation, they'd keep some sort of identity back to the original region. So I think so that colour is also important. And just for a bit of a light-hearted aside, I suppose I'm talking your water and everything else, and your logo, and maybe we could just have WAI for water and then transport. So in admin just be weight.
It's a good description for a bus stop.
Oh. All right. Next, Chris Hughes online.
But
Oh, you finished, Gary?
yeah, it is so. So I said that lightheartedly, but be very careful about what you use because people will actually twist it around on you very quickly if you get it wrong.
Yeah. Chris. You're on mute still. Oh, Chris, I'll come back to you. Warren.
Well, thank you. So I'm going to disagree with Robbie and Jen. When I saw the green bus pop up, to me it's okay. So the green of the Waikato, but also I thought, well, potentially I would look at that and go, it's probably an electric bus. It's probably it's green. It's good for the country. That sort of thing. That's what popped into my mind. Not a fan of putting a taniwha on the end of the W. In that space. no matter what kind of artist, Noel thinks he is. And I just remind my fellow councillors with your red, yellow, black that the Chiefs choke every year, and I'd hate to see a bus choking. So I'll leave it there.
Oh, blasphemy.
Tell me what I did.
Right, I do have a number of speakers. Chris Hughes. Yep, Chris, you're unmuted, but we can't hear you. Cool. If you pop something into the chat, that might work. Oh, okay. Gary Dim. Oh, Kata, are you back?
Back, yeah. I don't mind. Can I talk then?
Yeah, you go.
You sure? Okay, so morning everybody. Just a couple of things for me. I like either Waikato Transport or Transport Waikato. I think it makes sense as it's the region. What I do want to ensure that we do is to remember this is more than Hamilton. And yes, sports teams might have been one colour or the other. But when you're talking Waikato, you're talking the region. And the region goes all the way to Tuwharetoa, Hauraki, all over. So we must be consistent. And when we're talking the Waikato region transport. When you go to talk to iwi, we had something like 7 different iwi in different areas of Waikato region. So you might have some hassles trying to get a consensus of some things. But I did hear somebody say about the W and how we, in our whakatauaki of the Waikato River, that there's a taniwhai at every bend that goes up the whole of the river. So that's good kōrero. Yeah, so I've never caught a bus. I'm a bit like Keith. I've been 20 years in the area and never caught a public transport bus, although I've been on other buses. So it's great to see a consistency of colours wherever you go and know that, oh yeah, I know where that bus is from. It's from Waikato or whatever, because when I lived in Wellington, all our buses were one colour once upon a time, and we just knew where they were and who they were and whatever. So if we want to make a difference in our buses and get our people on them, it's got to be consistent. The colouring, you can't have 3 or 4 different colour buses for crying out loud. Otherwise, you're going to think Te Awamutu's going to start thinking, well, only yellow buses come to Te Awamutu and only purple buses will go to Tuwharetoa. So I think we need to be consistent in those colours. And remember, it's wider than Hamilton. So that's me, guys. I think well done to what you're trying to do. And if the bus branding is going to cause the price of the bus ticket to get from A to B, gosh, then I'd rather just have a plain bus with Waikato Transport on it or Transport Waikato, and that's it. End of story. And the bus stops, if you have a look at Glenview, they've just got a brand new, about 3 years old bus hub there, and it's basic, it's clean, you can see it. If we're looking at something like that, then I think we're doing well. But great slides, guys. Thank you. Thanks, Jean. Thanks, Ange.
Right, thanks, Kata, for those thoughts. They've been noted down. Right.
Turn your laptop off.
Robbie.
He's just turning his laptop off. Otherwise, you'll get the.
No, because you can't
Okay.
hear it, so.
Cool.
There you
Good
go,
to
Chris.
Okay, thanks, Robbie. Thanks, team, and thanks to the team that've done their presentation. Branding's like herding cats, and you have my sympathies. In terms of naming, I'm Hamiltonian, and as far as I'm concerned, 80% of our transport and bus is from Hamilton City, and I would prefer a location-centric brand. And I know that goes against your Waikato wide brand, but I think it gives Peter a better identification of where the service is actually destined to operate. I won't go back through the survey. I was going to make comment on some of the survey results because I have some questions on those, but I'll leave those for now. I'll focus on the colour. As far as I'm concerned, the colours should be a bright colour. Dark colours are difficult to keep clean. I'm surprised the farmers are going for yellow. I thought the Karatana yellow would have put them off. So my preference is for chartreuse, which is for those who are not into French name, it's a bright green, easy to keep clean, very recognisable. I understand what Robbie's saying about green being a dangerous colour. It is, and that's because it blends in to the background and greenery behind it. Chartreuse is a very different colour and easy to keep clean. Distinctive, stands out, and I think has got a lot going for it. Bus stops, if I can just comment, we're having electronic screens. I think bus stops are obvious. The electronic screens are going to cover a lot of the issues that were raised earlier regarding identification, where we're going, and all the rest of it. So I don't want to confuse that. I want to keep it simple. The old KISS principle, as far as I'm concerned, is how we should be going on this. And the easier and the simpler we can make it, the better it is for everybody, and the least costly it will end up being for ratepayers and users of the service. So could go on, but that's where I sit on the thing. But I'm keen on the name to be city-centric. If you look at all the names that have been touted around as justification for the Waikato name, they're all the names of cities, no regions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
You done?
All right, Gary M.
Yeah, cheers.
My first impression was that the colours of the buses that were put up was very bland and wasn't exciting and didn't say jump on this thing and go for a ride. It was dull. So I've just done your chartreuse now with the and I could change this 100 times for anything that you want, and it's so easy to do. That one there, it puts your chartreuse in there with the Waikato colours. If as you went down the district, you could change it to whatever the like what Gary said about on the back of the Fonterra tankers. But it doesn't need to be swirly and all that sort of thing. I've done so many of these that I've shown the guys over the last few weeks that this is only done the last few minutes. And my iPad's gone flat. But I even did one with koi carp swimming in the Waikato River. So but the other was dairy cows on a green background. There you can do anything you want. So you can tailor it to whatever you want. But I take my hat off to you. You did a good job on the identifying about how broken the system is at the moment, and it means nothing and nobody relates anywhere. So uniformity there, super important. But whatever you come up with, have it on those bus stops. Keep it simple. Keep it keep it simple. And as Ben said, maybe if it is Auckland, then ATW, maybe we could put that in there, but I don't think so. No. I don't think so. I think it's keep it here to the Waikato, but I believe that the main bus service though would be this Hamilton and to the north up to Pukekohe Station is what we're main focus is on.
No, we're a region, Gary.
Okay, well, your region, but yeah.
We'll let the experts
okay, they can decide that, but that's my thoughts.
Cheers.
Thanks. Ben, and then
yeah,
Liz.
I think Warren made an important point that we haven't thought about is that we're about to go out for a bus tender for electric buses. So I think that does push us towards a green. I could live with the spring green. I think Chris is right about the darker green. As regard the buses get dirty, well, I think that's a contractual thing about making them clean them. I don't think we should make a decision about whether the colour is. So I also don't play rugby, don't like the Chiefs, and wouldn't like it to be branded as a Chiefs bus. And I think that's the point that Katharina's making, is you've got to go for Taupo all the way up through, and we're ignoring the whole of the Coromandel White House. So, yeah. My view would be Waikato Transport, but it has to be WKT, because otherwise we're in risk of somebody putting an F in the name. We'll give you a one-way ticket.
Thank you, Ben. Liz.
Look, colours and branding, not my area of expertise. As Chris said, herding cats, I'm not even going to weigh in on this, other than it needs to be clear, it needs to be appropriate. And I think you mentioned a stakeholder group that you've been working with. I'd rather hear from them and then narrow it down to the last couple, because that stakeholder group is going to probably produce a wide variety of, it's going to be a completely different group. I mean, I'm just very mindful that we're quite similar, a lot of us, and I'd like to see diversity. I'd like to see, how does it work for those that are disabled? There's all sorts of things. Children, how do they react? I'd like to see that stakeholder opinion narrow it down to the last three or so, and then come here to this group for a final decision. It's kind of where I was kind of thinking. And I think I just wanted to mention what Chris was getting to, and it was a little bit difficult to hear him, but he was looking at the idea of, let's say, take, for example, a Matamata bus, that it would be branded Matamata. So he was looking at local names for, now that all works well when you're in that town, but that bus is driving to Hamilton probably, and then it gets confusing. So I just wanted to, I think that is something that Chris was probably trying to portray, and I'm not too sure if it kind of came across. So I imagine that staff will have an opinion on that, and we also can also appreciate the changing of coaches. Buses needs to occur with maintenance and things like that, which also could be problematic. So there's a lot in that, but I just wanted to mention what I thought Chris was getting to. Yeah, I'm happy to move on.
I think
Thank you,
makes a good
Liz.
point.
Yeah.
Oh,
Just have.
I've got Noel next, and then I'll come to Robbie and Gary.
Yeah, I think Liz makes a good point here.
Yeah,
the economies of scale, if you have everything the same, then you get lower costs.
Mhm.
You start swapping out buses with names on them, you've got to have a replacement or a bus that's not recognised by the people. And again, you'll have the confusion as, do I get on this one or do I not? So having it different is not what we're looking for. But the question I have to you, Phil, Ben made a statement that we're going up with contracts for electric buses. Is it only electric buses, or is it bus route? We're tendering bus routes, and how they populate those and how they move to environmentally friendly buses. To my understanding, we're not expecting 100% of buses to be electric on day one. So can you just clarify that confusion, please?
So there has been no change to the position in the workshop on the 6th of March, which is that we'll let the market decide the timing of the transition.
Yeah, but I imagine that the market will lead pretty quickly on those electric buses, given the
because there's no
global conditions.
Yeah, there's only electric buses are the only new buses that can come into the country. So therefore, over time, it will happen. But I just wanted to clarify that we're not going out with electric buses on day one.
Well, who knows? We'll see what the market decides. Yeah, well, it's a point for another day, probably. But thank you for the clarification, Phil. Robbie.
Just to Liz's point again, as Noel was saying, I understand what Chris was trying to say as well, but I think the digital labelling on the bus is going to be really important, and don't underemphasise that, because that's where you'll get that stuff that Chris wants, but it can't be as a screen print or anything on that bus, because then it doesn't work anymore. All of you done is all the time you guys have spent has been lost completely straight away. So the digital labelling, even whatever that thing is on the top of that air conditioning unit, if it can be there, that it can be bigger and more grand is really important. So there's going to have to be some thought going to that space at some stage of where in the bus can we get the best bang for buck for digital outlay. So thanks. Yeah, cheers.
Thanks, Robbie. Gary.
A good friend of mine does the maintenance repairs on the buses for AT and Pukekohe. He does all the repairs. And one thing, that bottom layer underneath there is the most damaged part on the buses. And that needs to stay pretty bland. And that's why AT have that big blue right through underneath, because that's the most damaged part that drivers smash them, cars hit into them all the time. I ran another one there, which is your green bus, but that's just shows a green base on the bottom, and you can do whatever you want on the top, and everything else I agree with.
Cool. Thank you, Gary. Jen.
Very quickly. I fought pretty hard last trinium to try and get square at the back of the bus to say, please let the bus go first, which is something that is all over the world as well. And it ended up being quite small because of our current, I assume because of our current, the space we sell on the back took precedence, and therefore it kind of got squeezed into a tiny little thing that hardly anybody could read. And so it is something to take into account what the bus back advertising space will be going forward to keep it simple, because I find the entire back of the bus being the ad makes it very cluttered and messy, and it would also provide us the space to do the thing that we need to be able to make the system run really, which is to let buses back in so they're on time. And I think we need to put that first over the advertising piece, which you can then provide them with a much more standardized template with the new.
The government's already moved on, Madam Chair, insofar as that this week they've come out and said in the changes that have been promoted by NZTA is that the legislation will make it mandatory to let buses out and in.
That's
so
great.
you won't need the
awesome.
In which case, but it still stands that they're messy at present, and it'd be nice to have them simple.
Good point there, Jen. I think you should have a strobe light on there that when it's in service, it just, like agriculture vehicles have got a green strobe light, they're on the road. Well, this bus is in service, have a strobe light that just goes ping, 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 get out of the way. Easy.
I don't know.
You'll be allowed to
might be
I'll leave that with
sensory overload
others.
for some people, but thank you. All right. Yep, that's great news about the law being changed.
Let's have a consultation.
Yep, that completely makes sense. If there's nothing further, I'll weigh in with some of my thoughts. Yeah, there's been a mix of views from what we've heard, but yeah, definitely that consistency across the whole region is really important. I note that at the moment we do have our regional buses that are, the Raglan buses, clearly the Raglan bus, alongside Matamata, Morrinsville, as well as the Waipa ones as well. So yeah, something consistent as well. And I think alongside this, we do need to look at our advertising policy, noting Noel's visuals that he shared of buses in Auckland, where they have advertising elsewhere, not just on the back. Yeah. Just with current buses, and if we're just going to move to numbers as well, feedback from people that I've heard from is, you want your number on your back, your side and the front, and consistent. At the moment, our buses drive around saying we are kinetic, comes up, but it stays on for a really long time, and you're wanting to see what the bus's number is, but it's the bus company's branding. So if we can get rid of that, that would be helpful. And then I guess it's the infrastructure that our partners, councils provide as well, getting that consistency and that within their budgets and the LTP would be really important as well. But yes, yeah, we will. Yep, good point. But as for the colours, I will hold my views for now.
Madam Chair, I had a question of you.
Yes.
You just talked about full bus advertising. Is that something you're advocating or not advocating?
I'm just saying the current government policy direction is for increased, what were they calling it? Private share. Part of that is whatever we can do, advertising, other things. So yeah, if that's something that we look at.
Will that significantly alter the branding of the buses or not?
No, it would be the base. The base layer would stay the same.
Right.
Yeah, but Noel's got some great visuals he can share.
I think I know what the hell is that? But it was all Chelsea sugar, and it just looked like a sugar packet. And then there was another one with chorus, and it was just the whole side of the bus. On the back was just the AT brand, like that. And on, up the front there was, or wherever it was, on the side there was AT, and on the back, and coming towards you was the number. So, yeah, if we're looking to revenue, I think we've got to be a little bit more open about it.
So that's quite significant in terms of what we're planning here. It means the brand needs to be very strong and consistent.
Yep.
And
There is a double-decker bus and a full train that are in the colours of a police car as well. You see around Auckland, so that really stands out.
Jen.
Yeah, personally, I think about, I recognise the private share aspect and such, but we're trying to create a vehicle that people want to get into. And I'm just mindful that it should be tidy, clean and everything else. And I really have a lot of reservations about a lot of advertising on the sides, almost at all, actually. A box at the back for me, it would be the thing. And just lastly, the logo, I like how it is really visible at the back, but if we did go with, say, Keith's thoughts on widening that W and into more of a flow, it would also give you the opportunity to bring it a bit higher, because just for safety reasons, and that whole idea of back of the bus is the part that's naughty. It would be nice for people to be able to see into there, and I realise you've mentioned about how it would be quite light anyway, but
notice you didn't mention Gary's idea of WAIT.
no, I didn't actually understand that, I'm going to admit. I either didn't listen properly or I didn't get it, but I'm going to see him in the break. Thanks.
Wait.
Now I get it. Thank you.
All right. I can see no further questions. Oh, Liz.
So look, just continuing that conversation around the opportunities for these buses to be able to be walking, driving, advertisements, so to speak. Have we done any work on sort of basic first principles on this matter? Because I can see us ending up not necessarily agreeing on just how much advertising might be appropriate for each bus and the type of advertising as well. Is that basic sort of first principle something that's been agreed around this table? Because I don't recall that. And I think we're going to potentially trip ourselves up here, because my version of it and someone else's version are going to be quite different.
Yeah,
So-
that was a discussion through the RPTP a few years ago, but I'll let Phil.
Yeah, so there was a policy included in the regional PT plan that we would move the revenue from advertising from being primarily gathered by the operators to being primarily gathered by us. And over the last couple of years, we've been through a process of defining how we would do that. And one of the things we had to have in place was a policy that set out what was the way we wanted advertising to work, and what types of adverts did we want and what types of adverts didn't we want. That policy came through Stratpol and then was last term was supported by council, and that was the basis upon which we tendered the recent contract. So we've moved into this new model probably in the last 18 months also, but there was a lot of work done in advance to try and be really clear on that, so that there wasn't confusion later on. But happy to share that policy with you if that's helpful.
Well, I think that given we're doing a full rebranding, it's quite pertinent to how much of each bus might we brand.
Yep.
And how do we keep a brand separate to advertising? I think that we need to revisit that. I think the timing is probably now before we get too far down the road with any new branding, because this is a whole new council, and like I said, things might have changed. There's also, of course, a whole lot of different way of thinking around councils at the moment, and how on earth are we going to continue revenue gathering? And that's more appropriate now than it probably was last term, to have that ongoing conversation. So just some of my thoughts.
Very,
Yep.
very happy to do that. And I think as part of the regional PT plan would be the right time to do that, because they're parts of the same thing. At the moment, if I remember it specifically, is we only allow advertising on the back of the bus, don't we?
Yeah.
So that's very clear in the current policy. If we wanted to extend that definitely it's a discussion as part of that process. I think.
Just
No.
on that, if I may.
It's worth redoing from time to time.
On that point, I'd like to see some discussions with Auckland and any other council who have gone to that full bus to see what their experiences are from a council perspective or AT's perspective and the user's perspective, but also the revenue side and how that's offsetting the cost of buses and the need or less need to increase fares, etc. So Liz makes a point there, and we've got to look at every revenue source that's reasonable, and being not wanting to be crass or anything, but we don't have what was it called, those the sex workers things, on the side of the bus, but you've got the sugar and the sparks and all those. What is it that we want to see?
Ethical.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
No, we'll definitely take that as an action.
Yep. Cool. Yes.
So for me, I want to understand what is the revenue, potential revenue. Are we potentially able to double it or quadruple it if we open up some of the sides or part of some of the sides of the bus? So that's just it's just a exercise. I'm interested to know where's that opportunity, and are we missing an opportunity right now while we're going through the rebrand?
And follow on from Liz, I would say, can we charge more for monopoly advertising?
Well, yeah, hence me bringing up that policy at this time. Ben, you've got.
Oh, I just wonder if we've got the experts here, do you have any thoughts about full bus branding and what implications that has for your process?
Yeah, I think what we do is design around what the first principles conversation brings up. I think it's a really good idea to talk to Auckland, other communities, to see what's worked, what hasn't worked, what could we improve. If we were to do this again, how might we approach it better? Might as well learn off somebody else. So I think all that would feed into a really good, healthy conversation at the right time about this. And then, as I say, our branding can work around any of those opportunities, I think, really well. We just have to take it into consideration. Yeah.
I think long term, it doesn't matter. Once you have created a brand that is very strong and that people know all buses here are Waikato buses, then it doesn't matter. That's what the other transport networks do. Whether it's in Auckland, they can do a full wrap and everyone will know it's still an Auckland transport bus, or in London, they do full wraps as well and everyone knows still the bus. So once we have created the strong brand that people realize we have one transport network here, it is Waikato Transport. I think from that point onwards, it doesn't really matter. You can do as much as you like, but it's just those initial stages where we're introducing the brand and creating awareness that we'll have to be careful.
Okay.
Cool. Yes. Yeah, go for it.
Can I just test the room? Because to me, some of us are saying Transport Waikato, some are saying Waikato Transport. I don't like the transport for Waikato or Waikato. Yeah, so either or, I don't really care which it settles on, but I just test the options with the stakeholder groups, because I keep it simple, WT or TW.
Should we do a vote? Should we do who is for Waikato Transport, the first one?
Yeah. Can we just clarify first? On your back on there, the top one is just the W logo, but still Waikato Transport.
So whichever name we go with, there are options to design a symbol to work with it. That's it. I'd say, yeah, I think it's interesting to have sort of an opinion of, I'm guessing this vote isn't binding, but it's an
Oh,
opinion.
it's a
of
workshop. We
what's
can't
everybody
make
thinking.
decisions.
Yep, cool. Just wanted to get that on the record.
Yeah.
But yeah, would be interested to know what everyone thinks.
Okay. Well, yeah. Oh, let's, Jane was running the poll, so.
Right, a show of hands, please, for Waikato Transport as the preferred. And the latter, transport for Waikato? So transport
get rid of the F.
Waikato.
Oh,
I think was
third.
the,
Transport Waikato, two.
so,
Okay, thank you.
no. It depends on the logo. You could just have a W.
Look, for me, it's mainly not to have the F in the acronym.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so I'm still very open other than that.
Okay.
I'm quite keen to hear what the stakeholder group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Alrighty.
And sorry, just to clarify, we will know who the stakeholders are and the diversity of them at some point. I know that was mentioned earlier, but for me, I kind of want to know sooner rather than later.
Yeah,
That's okay.
absolutely.
Yeah. And just to feed in that view of the younger generations as well, given that Hamilton is average age is 33. Yeah, I think that's really important. Yeah, just coming back to 80%. I think we've heard the rural view around the room.
I think the idea of families and kids is a really good one. Young people.
Yeah, I mean. But the children are a huge user group, so
Yeah.
absolutely keen to get their thoughts.
Yeah.
Let's ask them.
Yeah, but yeah, important that we do speak to a broad range of stakeholders. So yeah. All right. Sandra.
Yeah, thank you. I think that brings us to the end of the workshop. Really valuable discussions and feedback that the team was able to collect. And as I said at the beginning, we do have some iwi engagement over the next week, and we do all going well. We do hope to have some sort of after testing some more news for you in April.
So when you say iwi, which iwi? You're not. I hope you're not just going to Waikato Tainui, for example.
No.
You know, there's two Whareitoa, there's Hauraki,
Correct,
there's all
yes.
those main iwi.
Yep. Let's answer.
So we've got our Māori consultant who's reached out to, there's 33 iwis actually in the region. So we have gone out to all of that. We've got 6 that have come back to us and they're going to participate to that workshop next week. We can share the list in the full.
Excellent. Awesome. Okay. I'll hand back to Phil.
Great. Thanks, everyone. I think it's been a really useful conversation and really helps us be clear on where we're going from here. I'll close us with a karakia. Unihia mai te uru tapanui, kia wātia, kia mama, te nākau, te tinana, te hinenaro. I te ara takatū, koe rā e rongo, e whakairea, aki ki runga, kia tina,
Tina.
huie,
Tai
kie. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you very much. It's great to have you in person today. Yeah, thank you. And that closes our workshop.